Well, a very good morning to you. Thank you for making the time to stay with us as we dig into the newspapers. Of course, topical among some of the matters we're going to be discussing, the fuel price hikes and what all of this means. Joining me for a conversation, Kojo Poku, energy analyst. Mr. Poku, a very good morning to you, sir. You would have to unmute, Kojo.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm okay under the circumstances. God is faithful. But I'll just find out from you, what's your quick reaction to the latest fuel price hikes? I'm just looking for some of what we've seen over the last few days so I can run them by you in terms of the facts and the figures. So from one station, and I'm looking at it now, and this is one of the places I purchase fuel from. So diesel is going for $15.99, basically 16 cedis. Then you have one of the varieties going for 13 cedis and 10 pesos. Then you have another one that is petrol going for 15 cedis and 70 pesos. And that is what I purchased. And there's also kerosene for 13 cedis and 19 pesos. Per my estimation, from what I was paying last week to what this means, and I have to top up today, what it means is per liter, I'm going to be paying an extra 2 cedis. And already people who travel long distances every day to Kaswa, from Kaswa, and all of that are complaining. Some people are saying they're spending as much as 20 cedis every day, just in, not to talk of out. What is your quick take on this whole bit about fuel price increments? Quick one.
Well, it's always a sad news and a sad sight when you wake up in the morning and you are driving by and you see the increase. But one of the things that I have also said is that it's a deregulated market, and the prices you are quoting is most likely from the top four. There is going to be other filling stations that will not be charging the 15.99 for diesel and the 13 or 15 for petrol. So I encourage people that we are in tough times, so look around for a bargain. We have always said that
realistically, I'm sorry, but realistically, some of these ones you speak of, you would probably have to go out of your way to find some of their fuel stations. That is one.
Not necessarily.
No, hold on.
Necessarily.
And secondly, it's also about the quality, right? So you want to protect your vehicle, Ben, high octane vehicles.
It's not true. Ben, me and you have had this conversation over and over. I've always said that the quality of all fuel in this country comes from the same tank. There isn't separate tank for fuel that goes to the top four, and there isn't a separate tank for fuel that goes to the other.
Are there high octane fuels or not?
The high octane fuel, you are buying basically designer fuel. When you go to the Shell and you go and buy their V-Power, that's a designer fuel. You are basically buying premium fuel. That is why you are paying the price that you are paying for petrol. When petrol was 13 Ghana cedis a liter, Shell was selling their high-octane V-Power for 15 cedis. Now, it will be good for you to know that the FEMAX at Guel has the same octane level as the V-Power at Shell. So if you can save yourself 2 cedis and go to Guel. Now, it's not difficult to find Guel.
Well, I've not checked from Guel. I'll do that today and find out what theirs is.
I'm just giving you information that the petrol from Guel has the same octane level as the V-Power at Shell. Okay, so the point of you having to drive out of your way to find the other stations is not true. Now, most of these Ghanaian-owned filling stations that are doing lesser, it could be 20 pesos, Ben, it could be 30 pesos, but it's still a deal. Look, we keep saying that government should reduce taxes and levies on the petroleum products. When government has ever made an attempt to do that, government only reduced 10 pesos, 15 pesos, 30 pesos. Now, you have another filling station that is giving you this deal. We as consumers can also drive the price down by patronizing the cheaper filling stations, so there will be competition. If we all have this mindset that I have a car, it's difficult to drive off and buy this. I can always buy from this station. That's the one. And we keep educating. MPA has educated that quality conversation is in the 70s conversation. In today, 2022, there is no such conversation. In fact, let me tell you where if you want to talk about when people try to put stuff or what was the word they use? Adulterated. If people want to adulterate the fuel, it is adulterated in the tanks. It has now been proven that it's the tanker drivers that adulterate fuel. So the fuel going to any of these top four could be adulterated by a tanker who is delivering to those stations. So it doesn't matter whether you're buying from the top four or the other stations. You could be buying adulterated fuel. There are instances where people have bought fuel from the top four and gotten adulterated fuel because the tanker driver adulterated it before delivering it. So let's move away from this quality. Because of the fuel markers introduced in the fuel, all fuel around the country, until proven otherwise, is of the same quality.
I still disagree with you on certain points, but I think the bottom line is this. Promises were made about, cushioning us in terms of tax. Now, I don't know whether you've paid attention, but how much we're paying in tax on a liter of fuel is more than we used to purchase fuel for just some 6 years ago.
It's not true.
What isn't true?
Okay, so
I was purchasing a liter.
Let me explain.
So just a point. I was purchasing a liter, just about a liter, for over 4 cedis. Is the tax component on a liter not about 5 cedis currently?
No, it's not true. That's what I'm saying. It's not true.
How much is it then?
2 cedis, 20 pesos at most.
The last I checked,
okay, so
it was over 4 cedis.
All the taxes, Ben, let me explain. When you add up all the taxes, depending on at any point in time, recently there were some decreases and some were brought back. I don't know which ones were brought back. But let's even say that most is being, as at last year, was 2 cedis, 70 pesos. The most, for the taxes, levies, and margins, the most is being, as at last year, was 2 cedis, 70 pesos.
That is pretty interesting, Kojo, because I do recall very well that some months back, we conducted the same study, and when you looked at the tax component, it was over 4 cedis. I don't think memory is failing me over that.
I have a calculator. You can pull it up. We have about 5 minutes. We can do the math right now.
So now
you can go online and we can pull up the taxes and margins and add it all up right now.
So now
the maximum it will be 2 cedis, 70 pesos.
Okay, so just about 3 cedis.
It's not just about 3 cedis.
So,
it's 2 cedis, 70 pesos.
Right. So when you pick the current figure, so let's say for those paying 15.99, which is practically 16 cedis. Can you do the math for us, just so we do this live on air? So basically, who are paying 16 cedis.
If it's 16 cedis and it's 2 cedis, 70 pesos in taxes, you are looking at about
we've not calculated on the. I want us to calculate on the 16 cedis. Is the 2 cedis 70 pesos doesn't cut across, because there are different prices we are looking at.
It is fixed. You see, that's the thing people don't seem to understand. The price, the taxes, levies, and margin are not percentage. They are not calculated as a percentage. They are fixed per liter. So when you go through the list, it says 30 pesos per liter, 10 pesos per liter, 20 cedis per 20 pesos per liter. So it doesn't matter if there are 3 components of fuel. Okay, the 3 components of fuel is taxes, levy, and margin, the product cost, and then OMC marketed margin. Those are the 3 components that makes up your fuel. Now, at any point in time, the taxes, levies, and margins are fixed. So it is not more than 2 cedis, 70 pesos. And I'm using last year's figures. I have not done the calculation now as it is, because there were some reductions and some of the levies were brought back. So the point I'm making to you is that even if the fuel is 20 cedis a liter, your tax, levies, and margin is fixed. Still 2 cedis, 70 pesos. It is not a percentage increase on the price of the fuel. So as the fuel price goes up, when we were doing, in the beginning of 2021, we were doing 4 cedis a liter. Okay, some were doing 4 cedis, 30 pesos. At that point, the taxes, levies, and margin was 2 cedis, 70 pesos. Now that is 13 cedis or 16 cedis, it is still 2 cedis, 70 pesos a liter.
So per my calculation, that is about 17%.
There you go. Yeah.
Of the entire bit, which is still very high.
Well, it is very high, but Ben, let me put this to you. If today, like we were having the argument 2 years ago or last year, when people were saying that when the price was 7 cedis, we were saying it was high, so government should do something about the taxes and margins, right? Let's assume that today, that same old argument holds true. Let's now reduce the entire 2 cedis 70 pesos from the fuel cost now. It's still 13 cedis 30 pesos, which is still very high than when it was 7 cedis. So it tells you that the taxes is now becoming a very negligible part of the conversation. What is the conversation?
So the 16.8% I'm speaking of, so 16.8%, let's round it off. 17% is negligible per liter?
I'm not, it's negligible compared to the product cost. The product cost is making up the product cost is about 70%. So I'm thinking the marketers and marketers margin will come on top of that. So what is making the product expensive is the product cost. What is making the product cost expensive is your dollar to the city. That's the conversation we should be having, okay? Now, if government doesn't have money, and as a result, we are not able to basically generate enough taxes to basically pay our debt, and our city is losing strength because we don't have money, why would anybody want to start talking about reducing taxes? That's the problem. You see, the problem is not, because in the world market right now, we had the highs of the premium, or what do you call it, the crude oil going around 120, 115, 121 last year, or the early part of this year. Now, the crude oil is around $91, $95, thereabout. It has come down below $100 a barrel. So, in effect, if you look at the prices around the world, it has all come down. The only problem in Ghana now, why our products is still going up, is that the majority of the component which is affecting your price is the product cost. The product cost is influenced heavily by the dollar to the city. That is the conversation we are supposed to be having, not the taxes.
In the meantime, as you definitely know, when fuel prices go up, I mean, there is that unwritten rule when it goes up to a certain level, the transport operators, right before we get into the papers, will also want to increase their fares. And that is looming. And we already know. I was stunned yesterday when someone told me that just shuttling to Kaswa costs her about 20 cedis and back. So multiply that. I've had people tell me that when their cars broke down and they had to board public transport, their salaries, entire salaries, were gone, even before other expenses came through. But put that side by side with this staggering fact. We put out a ranking of sub-Saharan African countries with the highest food prices or highest food price increments in this year, 2022. And guess what? Ghana ranked first in terms of food price increments, 22%. I'm just putting that into the conversation of what the fuel price also does, not just to transportation, but to food and to everything in that basket that the Ghana Statistical Service uses. So, I mean, for me, this is a very tricky spot to be in, but we can only pray things ease up.
It's a big problem. We all know it's a problem. And like I have said during the conversation and submission I made earlier, your underlying problem is the weakening of the cedi. The products you are importing, all the products on the market, the additives, everything, even if it's local food that we are producing, they use fertilizer, they use all the other things they use. They use chemicals. All those things are affected by the dollar to the cedi. If we are to concentrate as a nation and stabilize our currency, a lot of things will follow suit, okay? We seem to think that really and truly the economy will take care of itself, which it wouldn't. We think that the cedi and the dollar will bounce back by just having one-off inflows, which it wouldn't. We need to have pragmatic plan to basically strengthen the cedi. We are not doing that. I'm not seeing that from anybody. Everybody is hoping that IMF will come in and magically the cedi will gain strength. It wouldn't. You need to have a saving plan. The investor confidence in this economy is gone. Nobody's bringing in money. Everybody is just sitting back and waiting. And all this publication every day of the cedi being the worst currency in the world or whatever, it's not helping anybody. So the government needs to sit up and give pragmatic reasons, plan, and the roadmap to strengthen the city. The 1.3 billion cocoa syndication loan will come in, but I doubt it would dent it that much. Okay, so we are now at 12. We don't do something immediately, we are going to wipe savings of people. We are going to wipe money off people's savings. Me and you, our salary beginning of the year is negligible in terms of what it can buy. Because what we were earning the beginning of the year, if the city was 7 cities, now it's gone to 12. The amount of increase as per dollar value of our salaries is basically being wiped out. So we can't buy anything. So I can understand when people cannot patronize all these transportations and be able to take care of themselves. Ghanaians are in a very tough place, my brother. And it's about time that we take it serious and pretend that it's going to go away someday. It's not, unless somebody does something about it.
And my core problem, when some prices go up, food prices, basic commodities, and especially fuel, it is really difficult, from my experience, for them to come down. That is the sad aspect. When transport fares go up, they practically never come down, and that's the problem.
It's
so
true.
For the person, for Kwesi Menu, whose salary has been what it is for the past decade, who has not seen any increments, and yet has to find ways and means of dealing with all these accelerated costs, you can just imagine what life is like. But let's get into the daily graphic this morning. Kumasi-Bolgatanga 330 kV line commissioned. It will carry power to Burkina Faso. I find this interesting because we've always spoken about this, and there's also the bit about excess power. 2023 budget preparation. Bring back road tolls, according to a citizen survey. And a civil society organization with interest in agriculture and the social sector, Send Ghana, has called on the government to bring back road tolls to help shore up revenue for development. It explained that reintroducing the road tolls would help generate more revenue for the state and ease the pressure on the economy, since the electronic transfer levy introduced to help in that regard was not fetching enough revenue to execute developmental projects as had been projected. There's also 10 years after passage of law, mental health care still unsatisfactory. Dr. Kwesi Osei laments, and appropriate technology key to responsible mining. Commodity Monitor CEO says so. On the back page of the Daily Graphic, a battle for number 1 spot, and pictured there are 4 goalies, our 4 shot stoppers. Richard Ofori, Joseph Wallacott, Lawrence Atizigi, and Abdul Manaf Nuruddin. All of them vying for that all-important spot. So I'm supposing you might want to share your thoughts on bringing back road tolls and whether we should have taken it away in the first place. Then, again, an energy-related issue, the 330 kV line commissioned to carry power to Burkina Faso. Quick thoughts?
Well, for me, bringing back any form of tax at this point in time in our lives, for me, I wouldn't advise anybody to even think about it. This whole thing about the GRA going hard on market women to try to make it look like they are doing their work and all these things is at the wrong time. I keep saying that you can't squeeze water out of a rock. There is no water in the rock to squeeze, and that is what GRA is trying to do to Ghanaians at this stage. This is not the stage to start doing your work. Yes, you are supposed to collect taxes, but this is a time when nobody has the money. You are going hard on market women whose savings are being depreciated by the dollar to the cedi, period. I'm hearing from next week, there's going to be a 1-week shutdown of all stores in Accra. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but that would be very sad.
It's actually this week. In the central business district of the Ashanti region, Kumasi, it has happened, and it's happening here in Accra as well. In fact, my colleague Bernice Abubeidu Lanta, your friend, your very good friend, will be reporting live from the central business district of Accra today on the back of that, because traders have also put in some sort of petition based on which these people are saying they are not going to be selling anything.
And the other thing is that on top of that, you have snakes going around telling these women that they have to pay snakes. I think we should try and educate Ghanaians and let snake come out and explain. Ben, maybe you should do this. I thought snake was voluntary, not compulsory. I don't know, somebody needs to educate me. I can decide to pay snake as a self-employed person or not.
Right.
I don't
Of course,
think
the dynamics
snakes
are different when you are employing people, but
No, I know,
individually,
but if you are self-employed,
yeah.
which most of these market women are, they are self-employed.
Right.
So as a self-employed person who is not paying himself salary, you can decide to voluntarily pay SNIT or not. If they employed somebody, then they have.
I think, Kojo, the thinking is, the unbanked population, usually those who, what are they called? They
The
don't
informal
usually get
sector,
into the
the
frame.
informal.
And so, yes, the informal sector, the tendency to not do this and then be caught in dire straits at the end of, when they retire or they can no longer work is high. So I think maybe
So
that
you
is the approach, not
educate.
to say that it is
So
compulsory, you
you
must do it.
educate them. You educate them and tell them that, look, this is the option available to you. If you
Right.
don't do this, you might face this. But don't go and start making it compulsory, because that's the information I'm getting. That SNIT is going around the Central Business District and insisting that these market women do their SNITs,
Right.
which for me, I know is not compulsory if they are self-employed. Okay, somebody can educate us otherwise, but that's for me, I think, what the law is. Pension is an option I can decide to have or not.
Right.
Then again, so all these things going on is putting on unnecessary burden on our mothers and fathers and sisters who work in this informal sector. So my point is that already we are facing horrible situation. In other jurisdictions, they are reducing taxes for these people. They are reducing taxes for citizenry.
Right.
Today is not the time for GRA to start doing their work. I can't stop repeating this over and over. They should just chill out. Let us go through this momentous hardship that we are going through. And on the other side, let's look at how we are going to basically do our work. There are companies, okay, who are avoiding taxes. There are companies who are not paying the right taxes. And those taxes, when collected, is twice what you get from Makola.
Right.
But you are not collecting those ones. So what's the problem? So really and truly, we should stop this thing. Honestly, I'm pleading with the authorities to stop this harassment of the central market women. It's not the right thing to do.
Interesting point you make there. What do you think about the lines carrying power to Burkina Faso, though? And
very important. And we've all, you remember, I think last year I organized a forum for the industry stakeholders to educate the lines that are coming up. The reason that Kumasi was always having challenges because there was a bottleneck. Now that the 330 kV is done, we can now evacuate power successfully to the northern part of the country so that we can now inject into the West African power pool. So it's a very good infrastructure that we have done. And for me, I think it will solve some of the problems that was creating a bottleneck of power in the Ashanti region area.
All right.
And by the way, we no longer have excess capacity in this country, so that conversation is out of the window.
We've spoken about it for so long. So can you explain what happened exactly?
Because we have grown as a nation. You know, in 2017, we had excess capacity because our demand was not as high. But over the last 6 years, we've grown about 200 to 250 megawatts a year. So we have catch up with the demand that we have. The 600 to about 800 megawatt excess that we have on top of what our demand is, it cannot be called excess capacity. It is what you need as your spin.
So sort of like a buffer, right?
Like a buffer, yes. So you need that in place just in case you have to do maintenance and stuff like that. So what Parliament need to do is to find out a way to get PULC to factor that our spin capacity into the prices that we pay.
Because so just to clarify, that whole rhetoric of we're paying for power that we're not consuming and all of that, we can flush it, somewhere now. It doesn't exist.
In 2022, I'll laugh at anyone who makes that statement.
All right. Let's wrap with this. Dr. Odrosai calls for lifestyle audit of civil and public servants. Of course, the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, IAA, Dr. Eric Odrosai, has called for a lifestyle audit of senior civil and public servants in the country. He said such an exercise would not only check corrupt practices, but also help weed out corruption in the public sector. Quick reaction to that? We get into the Ghanaian Times.
Yes, Ben, I've always said that if you want to fight corruption, follow the money.
Right.
If you're really serious about fighting corruption, follow the money. If you follow the money, you will catch everybody who's corrupt. So he's dead right. Lifestyle audit will definitely tell you if somebody who is on a 5,000 Ghana cedis a month or on 8,000 cedis a month, their lifestyle is commensurate to what they are doing. They might say that their wife is doing something, whatever they are doing. So find out what their wife is doing. Find out what their children are doing. Find out the number of cars in their house. Look, we have come to a stage in life in Ghana where that's why it's sad when GRA does not computerize. All this digitization that we talk of is not being done in the right way. Okay, you can have a simple platform that on one click of a button you can check every single expenditure, receivables, and revenue of an individual and his household by just issuing people simple numbers. Now, in the UK and the US, they have either social security number or national insurance number. In Ghana, we don't know what we have. We had the TIN number. We now have a Ghana card number. We don't even know which one is which. So, people start talking about the digitization, not even understanding the management information system space. Today, everybody who has a company or wants to register a company has what you call a TIN number. Is that what is our identification in terms of tax identification and all those things? Or is it our Ghana card number which is supposed to do that? It's really amazing. But what we need to do is to have one number which associates everybody. And that number can be given to children, can be given to everybody. Okay? And I don't think a TIN number can do that. A Ghana card, you can't take the biometrics of a child, so that wouldn't even be the number. So we need to think about that old digitization thing to understand what we intend to do. We need to learn from the best. In America, they have social security number. Everybody knows their social number. The minute you are born, you are given a social security number. That is the number that tracks you till you die. And that, when the police stops you, they can tell whether you're a criminal, whether you owe child support, whether you owe whatever, by just pulling up your social security number.
Right.
Okay? We are spending all this money doing all these multiple things, and none of them addresses the fundamental problem in this country.
Let's get into two papers quickly. I'll link them because some of the stories are shared, so we can just digest the stories. The Ghanaian Times first, and then the Daily Guide. So, fight against galamsey. Ban small-scale mining. Religious leaders demand immediate action to save environment. That's on page 16, and it's also the banner headline in the Daily Guide newspaper. That's on page 3. But let me just give you some snippets of that. So, religious leaders in the country have called for an immediate ban on small-scale mining to prevent degradation and pollution of the environment. According to the religious leaders, many groups or companies hide behind a legal license to wreak havoc on the environment. The religious leaders representing the Christian Council of Ghana, Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, Office of the National Chief Imam, Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, Ghana, then National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, Council for Independent Churches, and parachurch organizations said this at a press conference in Accra yesterday. Quoting them, they described galamsey as ecological suicide and, quote, we call for a national stakeholders dialogue under the auspices of religious leaders to dialogue with all political parties, mining technocrats, the media, traditional leaders, and all stakeholders to commit to a non-partisan national strategy to sustainably deal with the canker of galamsey. But just hold your horses for me. There's also set aside 2.5% of GET Fund for citizenship education. Professor Kwashiga, my former dean at the School of Law, University of Ghana, says so, and that is what he is advocating. He says the setting aside of 2.5% of the Ghana Education Trust Fund, that is the GET Fund levy, as a special fund to promote responsible citizenship education is the way to go. Quick reactions to those two stories, and then I'll do one or two more from the Daily Guide.
Okay, so Ben, I think, unfortunately, I disagree with the church leaders. Banning small-scale mining does not solve the problem. The reason being that you cannot ban small-scale mining forever. It cannot be a permanent ban. If you look, people's livelihood are on small-scale mining. It's a way to also help Ghanaians.
Have you seen that recent video? Have you seen that recent video? TikTok, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that recent, but that is not a small-scale miner. That's not a small-scale miner.
No, I'm talking about the sad aspect of it, the other side of it.
I know, but the point is there's a difference between galamsey and small-scale mining.
No, that's the difference we all know. We all know that difference.
Yes, but so trying to solve the problem is not to ban small-scale mining. It's like telling me that because they are thieves at night, nobody should go out at night. It's not, it's not the same. Not everybody out at night is a thief. Not everybody out doing small-scale mining.
The problem is, for those doing what you saw in that TikTok video, they are basically saying, I'm going to do the worst, and there's nothing you, even as a state, as the CEO of the country, can do about it. So some are suggesting just let go of all of it. And now, with the right policies backing this, let it be a phased approach to go back to what should be done. Is that wrong?
Ben, look, there are all the policies you need. The only two things that I have suggested on your show that doesn't exist is, what did you see in that video?
Yes, but the policies are there. They are not biting. You can't implement them.
Yes, but exactly. So the point is, if you ban it, you bring it back again. So we are back to square one. We've banned it before, and we brought it back. What you are trying to say is that ban it so everybody comes home. But the point is that at a certain point in time, there's going to be so much pressure on you to bring it back. When you bring it back, people will go back. Look, Ben, in that video, what did you see? You saw an excavator. I'm saying that let's track all excavators in the country.
Well, now we've been told that there will be sensors attached and all of that for tracking.
People can tag all these. Look, my brother, what I'm saying to you is that there are simple ways of doing this thing. And I've said on your show over and over and over again, make the financier of Galamsey, of Galamsey, culpable of the crime. So the financier will go to jail as the same guy as the guy in that TikTok video. They will all get the same sentence. Then all excavators in this country, tag them. It's the simple solution, because if you have tagged that excavator in that video, anybody in real time can tell where excavators are at any point in time. But going to ban people's livelihood, which is small-scale mining, is not the way to go. It's not. Because let me explain to you, where small-scale miners are not in rivers. Where small-scale miners are nowhere near forest reserves. So let's not just oppose the two. You're only going to ban small-scale mining. It's going to put too much pressure on government to go back to it, because it's people's livelihood.
Let's wrap, Kojo, with a few more stories.
Now, let me go on the issue of the money to be put aside on the citizen education.
Right.
Look, man, I've always said that there's supposed to be three things: decency, promptness, and urgency. Okay? Decency, promptness, and urgency. We don't have that in this country. So anybody wants to get Ghana working again, let's promote these three things. If we promote decency, urgency, and promptness, most of our problems will be solved.
There's also that same story, ban small-scale mining now, Christian Council saying so. But I won't sack Ofori-Atta. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. I don't know whether you've listened to what he said in recent times. NDC won't stop Galamsey, Esiedun Ketsia says so. So let me just do that very quickly and move on. We're pressed for time. And outgoing General Secretary of the opposition NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketsia, has indicated that his political party has no plan of banning illegal mining, popularly called Galamsey. According to the aspiring national chairman, the NDC's intention when it gets the opportunity to form a government in future would be to allow illegal mining to continue, but not stop it. Of course, there's a bit of a spin on what exactly he says, but it also reflects partly maybe what you're saying about sanitizing the system. But how do you respond to that? And to the other bit about, I won't sack Ofori-Atta, Akufo-Addo says so. Some say that going to the IMF with this kind of leadership in itself means that we're already shooting ourselves in the foot.
Well, I honestly think that we live in a country where people should have I don't even know the word to use, but people should be able to think for themselves and decide for themselves what they think is best for them. I mean, I can't speak for the finance minister, but if I was in his shoes, I would have resigned. That's what I think it should happen. I don't think it's about somebody sacking him. Because
Kwesi Kwarteng did not resign. He was sacked.
Yes, I know, but most people resign. Kwesi Kwarteng resigned because Kwesi Kwarteng
he was sacked. Actually, people were insinuating that he resigned. He came out to say he was sacked.
I know, but his one was unfortunate because if you listen to Liz Truss's interview a day before she won the prime ministership of this country of the UK, she said that she was going to announce her tax incentives and blah, 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 blah when she gets the premiership. And the minute she got the premiership, that announcement came through Kwesi Kwarteng. Kwesi Kwarteng had just basically fallen on the sword for Liz Truss, which is unfortunate. But let's not compare the two. What we are saying is that we are in a situation where when the IMF comes into town, everything the IMF wants to do is completely in opposite to everything that Ken Ofori-Atta stands for. Okay? So Ken Ofori-Atta cannot be the finance minister when the IMF is running the country and telling you what to do, because over the last 6 years, everything that you have basically done is in contrast to what the IMF will ask you to do. So on principle, he should resign.
Okay.
But if he doesn't want to resign on his conscience and want to start a job, I mean, why not? I mean, I'm not the
so,
one.
So, Kojo, I'm going to read out some headlines. You can respond to only one in 30 seconds, and we go. Graphic business, economic turnaround. Akufo-Addo seeks private sector support. 22.3 billion Ghana cedis of imports not insured in 2021. Akufo-Addo tells radio listeners, The Chronicle, Mahama has failed the truth test on unprecedented road infrastructure claim. But 6 years on, we're here in the Ashanti region, there's a lot of talk, and he responded to that saying that, well, if the people feel they'll vote otherwise because of that, they can go ahead. Economy Times, CD to depreciate further. 30 seconds and we go.
I think the issue of CD would depreciate further is, for me, what I'll go for. I think the government needs to come out and give a roadmap, a very substantial way forward for us to rescue and basically prop up the strength of the city against the US dollar. Okay. The US dollar is very strong around the country, around the world, and everybody is having the same problem. So we need to basically put our act in order. Thank you.
Kojo Poku, I like the way we push each other. It's been a good one. Thank you so much for joining the conversation.
Thank you, my brother. And good morning to everyone, the KMP family who is watching. I wish them a very blessed week. And it's going well. Ben, join the team.
You want to push me into this? You know I stay away from that wahala. Anyway, Kojo Poku is an energy analyst. He joined me this morning. Always refreshing to have him. Thank you once more. Up next, we serve you sports. A lot of action coming your way. Do stay.